we've gone from, the age of the unicorn when everybody was trying to put money into venture to back growth, to people looking at wanting to see the economic fundamentals being much clearer. And across our portfolio, really all of our companies have an eye to this value for money argument.
Hello, you're watching Proactive. Joining me is Frontier IP Group CEO Neil Crabb. Neil, very good to speak with you. You're up to your half-year results for the period to end December. And it's been a difficult period for AIM-listed companies and early-stage development companies, but you still have made significant progress with your portfolio. To take us through some of the highlights.
So I would say that the sort of flagship transaction that we just announced last week, but has been in the stocks for a while, was the round in Camgraphic, now renamed 2D Photonics, where we saw investors with Sony, Bosch, NATO's Innovation Fund, and CDP, which is the Italian sovereign wealth fund, coming in. So an absolute blue chip roster of investors with a 25 million round. That's really interesting. Developing technology to use graphene to enhance the performance of silicon, playing into data centers. We also saw NATO as an investor on their innovation fund. So there are potential defense applications, communications, all of the areas that really are I guess, buzz focus for global investors across the piece in terms of where we're seeing economic activity. So we're very encouraged by that. Within the wider portfolio, we've seen a mix of really good funding progress. So, for example, we saw Deakin Bio raising money for its novel materials technology. We've seen good commercial progress coming through. So Lucid, with further launches with TOPS Tiles of its first actual floor tile. So good traction there. And then on the technology side, progress with, for example, Graph Energy Tech partnering with institutions and companies in Taiwan, which obviously is the leader in terms of advanced semiconductor manufacturing, looking at its graphene electrodes. So a really broad spectrum of interest. But you're right, against a backdrop of challenging economic times with uncertainty over growth rates and friction between global trading blocks as well.
And I suppose this speaks to the strength of the companies that you include in your portfolio, Neil. So take us through some of the criteria that you look for and why their technologies are of interest to investors.
Yeah, so I think we tend to focus on certain what we call clusters where we see strong demand. But I guess one theme that is really worth drawing out, which I think is going to resonate for quite some period to come, is about delivering cost benefit as well as innovation. It's that marriage of the two. And in an environment where we're hearing, interest rates have gone back up, people are worrying about inflation, people are worrying about growth rates, the ability to deliver good economic value as well as growth is super important. So 2D Photonics is an example. In the semiconductor industry, people want to lower the cost per compute. You've seen what happened with DeepSeek, for example, versus the large language models being funded in the US. And you can think of that as a technical debate, but you can also think of it as a cost debate. Can we bring down the cost to compute a given answer? That's what drives interest in behavior. If you look at Graph Energy Tech, trying to replace silver as the electrode material in solar panels, well, 11% of the cost of a solar panel is the silver in the electrodes. And there's pressure that, the more you can drive down the cost of a solar panel, the more we can increase deployment and generate more power. So it's cost that's at the heart of this. So I would say that the macro theme is that. And we've gone from, the age of the unicorn when everybody was trying to put money into venture to back growth, to people looking at wanting to see the economic fundamentals being much clearer. And across our portfolio, really all of our companies have an eye to this value for money argument. I mean, Pulsive, for example, in the portfolio with its USB-C power technology, energy efficiency is super important. So if you can be more effective in doing that, everybody's worrying about their energy bills. Well, if you can make more of the electricity you've got, that's better. It's an economic argument that is at the heart of the investment case.
You singled out some of the high-profile backers for 2D in that 2D transaction, Neil. But other companies in your portfolio have also been attracting very high-profile third-party backers as well, haven't they?
Yes, that's certainly true. So obviously, Graph Energy Tech that I mentioned there is backed by Aramco. I think that's the smallest investment that Aramco have made in the world. Interesting to get involved early because of the fundamental attractiveness of technology. I mentioned Deakin, that was Green Angel Ventures, so a specialist venture syndicate around the green space. We've seen Nesta, for example, coming in on Nandi. There really is a good broad spread of good quality names. And I think for any company in this space, you've got to plan because markets are challenging and there are some people sitting on their hands. You've got to make sure that you get out to a wide network of investors. And we've seen everything from corporate VCs to public sector to angel networks and such like. And we're trying to get them all involved in funding the bits of growth that are interesting to them.
Neil, how's the second half of the year looking so far? So you already had that 2D transaction. What else lies ahead?
Yeah, so we've got Cambridge Raman Imaging in the portfolio is making good progress commercially with selling, and we expect to see that map to doing a further round there. They're actively out looking at the moment to do more, and so watch this space on that one. Obviously, commercial deployment really important across the piece. I think we've seen quite strong news flow from the portfolio company. I have to be a little bit careful being public because, as you know, we're limited as to telling you what is going to be announced. But the rate of news flow since we ourselves raised money last year has accelerated, and we expect to see ongoing strong interest. So people should really be looking out for news across those portfolio companies that I've mentioned and more besides around grants. Around commercial milestones, technology validation, and equity. We expect to see progress on all of those fronts, to be honest.
Neil, I hope you'll keep us updated on that progress. Thank you very much for speaking with us today.
Thank you.
That's Frontier IP Group CEO Neil Crabb.